Hey folks, I just wanted to do a brief kind of wrap up here as we are now in the first Monday after challenge. And I want to talk a little bit about what happens next and some of my experience when it comes to successful long-term either weight loss or weight maintenance. So I wanted to share a couple of things with you. And as mentioned, as you guys weighed in and when we were talking about kind of what happens after challenge is over, hopefully you guys will take advantage of utilizing wellness if that feels like something that is going to be useful, whether that is regular check-ins, regular weigh-ins, helping with goals or keeping goal sheets. I have several folks who want to continue to do that. So please know that just because the formal challenge has ended, there's no reason that you can't continue either some of the format or come up with a new format. Certainly doesn't have to be every single week, but bi-monthly or bi-weekly, however you say it, or monthly check-ins can help you be accountable. So if that is something that appeals to you, certainly let me know and we can make something that is personalized for you. So here's the bad news. Most diets fail. And they don't fail in the short term. Almost everybody can successfully lose weight over a short period of time. Most data and research seems to suggest that most people following a kind of diet or calorie restriction program can lose about 5 to 10% of their total body weight within a few weeks or a few months and can be successful with that. What happens though is that people are very unsuccessful about maintaining the weight that they have lost, and differing research has differing failure rates, but most of the research is pretty consistent that at least around 2/3 of people who do successfully lose weight will gain back either all or more of the weight that they lost within about 4 to 5 years. And so, that is exactly the opposite of what we want. And what usually happens is that people kind of get into this cycle of getting into a diet. They drastically restrict what it is they're eating. They may also, in combination with that, dial up their physical activity. And so they get into this point where they're hungry, they're not eating the foods that they like, and it becomes really hard over a long period of time to fight that. And physiological hunger is always going to win over willpower, unless you have an eating disorder. But for 99% of people, this highly restrictive diet is not going to work over the long term. And so you get into what they call the diet cycle, where you're highly restricted, you feel bad, you miss the foods that you love, it sets you up for these cravings, you get into this binging cycle where you're restricting and binging and restricting and binging. Probably you end up eating more calories than you cut into this cycle, and then what happens is often you'll just kind of give up and you'll end up going back to the way that you used to eat. Another scenario that is often common is people achieve their goal. Maybe they lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 50 pounds, and they say, yay, I did it. I've achieved my goal, or I've achieved something that I'm pretty happy with. And so now I'm just going to go back to the things that I did before. And of course, the things that you did before are the things that helped you to put on weight over time anyways. And so again, most people are going to end up either back where they started from or worse than what they started from in terms of this diet cycle. That's not what we want. That is the exact opposite of what we want. So my hope is that over the course of challenge, you have figured out what is a reasonable number of calories for you. Everybody, I hope, knows that I do not think that highly restrictive diets are successful, especially in the long term. If you are hungry, you are probably eating too few calories. So my suggestion would be for you moving forward is recalculate your numbers. You did them at the beginning. Hopefully you did them at the halfway point. And now that it's 10 weeks later, what are your current numbers? So again, maybe you're exercising more than you did at the beginning of challenge. Maybe you're exercising less. You probably have lost some weight. So figure out what those calorie needs are and make sure that it's still correct. And again, thinking about your macronutrients, calories are going to be our top priority when it comes to either maintaining or losing weight. Number 2 is going to be hitting our protein, at least around 25, if not more percent of total calories from protein. And then fat and carbs can be whatever you want to, as long as that calorie number and protein number are being hit. So double check and make sure that your numbers are still accurate. And again, you don't necessarily have to always be in a calorie deficit. Perhaps as the holidays come up, you just want to maintain the weight that you've lost or maintain the weight that you're at. Totally fine to do that as well. So just figure out what that number looks like. So again, these are going to be the most important, and these are the most important things forever and ever. These things don't change just because challenge has changed. So what are the appropriate number of calories that you need to eat? What are the appropriate number of grams of protein that you need to hit? And then figure out the rest of it. 2 servings of vegetables, or excuse me, 3 servings of vegetables, 2 servings of fruit, 30 grams of fiber every day, eating fish, eating nuts, all of those things that we've kind of worked our way up to, especially during the lifestyle challenge. These are things that are going to be really important for your overall health and going to make it more likely that you're going to stick with the diet, especially when you're talking about fiber, talking about protein. All of those things are going to help you stay full, stay satiated as you kind of move forward, especially if you want to continue your weight loss and create a little bit more of a calorie deficit. So how are we going to move forward from here? The next thing is going to be to ask yourself, what do you want to do? So if you are currently interested in continuing to lose weight, then you're going to want to continue to track your food, monitor your weight. So I suggest getting on the scale and doing a weigh-in at least once a week. You can do twice a week and average those if you feel like that's better for you. But having a standard weigh-in, whatever day of the week that is, first thing in the morning would be ideal, and seeing where your weight is. That's going to be how you determine if your calories are going to stay the same, go up, or go down. So have a standard weigh-in. Doesn't have to be with me, but hold yourself accountable, and that's going to be where you track your progress. I would also encourage you to do something other than just the scale. So tape measure, doing something like waist, hips. That would be super useful. Taking photos of yourself in, standing with sports bra and shorts, or just in shorts if you're a dude, taking photos and then checking in on those once every month or so to track progress, also very useful. Have some kind of measurement system in place so that you know what's going on. Either are you staying the same, losing, or gaining? Check in and see what's going on. So if you want to keep losing, you're probably going to need to keep lowering your calories as time goes on, because your body weight is going to be less. So my suggestion is, as long as you're losing weight at a rate that is comfortable for you, keep your calories the same as to where they are. So if you're losing on average a half a pound a week, something along those lines, or if it's like steady down a little, keep your calories the same and ride that out as long as possible. If things start to stagnate and you're kind of rolling right along, maybe it's been a couple of weeks and you haven't had any weight loss or any differences in your measurements, time to lower those calories a little bit. Keep in mind, you're going to do it a little bit. I would suggest lowering calories by between 50 and 100 at the most on a day-to-day basis, as you kind of think about reducing calories. Do not get into this slash and burn mentality where, oh my gosh, I didn't lose weight, I'm going to drop 500 calories from my diet. Again, where are you going to go from there? At some point it's going to stall again, and now your calories are going to be super low. Make the smallest changes that you can that will effectively give you some change. Now, the other thing that I really want to drive home is that if you are not doing regular strength training, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. when it comes to either losing weight or maintaining weight loss, strength training is more important than cardio. 100%. So what happens is that while it is true that you will burn more calories in a cardio session, so say you do strength training for 30 minutes, cardio for 30 minutes, it is true that you will burn more calories during the session when you're doing cardio. However, what happens is that you burn more calories following the strength training session. So it actually, over time, over the course of a day, equals more calories burned from strength training. More importantly, if you are creating a calorie deficit, at some point, if you are not eating protein and strength training, some of the weight that you lose will be muscle. 100%. So if that doesn't sound appealing to you, if you would like to keep the muscle that you have and force your body to lose fat and not muscle, you need to be hitting protein and you need to be doing regular strength training. The third reason why strength training is so important is the fact that if you can build some muscle throughout this process, or at least cue your body to the fact that it needs all of the muscle that it has, you can actually increase your metabolism. So as we've seen, as our body weight goes down, our calorie needs go down. The asterisk there is if I put on lean body mass in the form of muscle, my calories can actually go up because muscle uses more calories even at rest. And so if you want to be able to continue to lose weight, but keep your calories moderate or even the same, you need to be doing strength training, 100%. If you don't really know where to start with that, contact me. We'll get you a plan in place that feels good, that is not super time requirements, and is going to be effective. So if you have not done that yet, if you're not strength training, now is the time. So the question then, if you've said, well, it's the holidays, I've lost some weight, but I don't know that I want to try to keep bringing calories down through the holidays. The other thing to do is maybe you say to yourself, I just want to maintain. You cannot be on a diet forever. Just can't do it. So at some point, whether that point is now or whether that time is in 2 months or a year from now, you're going to hit a point where you can't reasonably continue to decrease your calories and still feel good. So when that time comes, the time is then to maintain where you are and then even start increasing calories a little bit, but we're not quite at that point. But if you want to maintain your current weight, you're still going to do all of the things that you would if you were trying to lose weight. Track your foods, monitor your weight. If your weight is going up, you need to bring the calories back down. If your weight is staying within 1 or 2 pounds and you feel good with that, leave the calories alone. Adjust as you need to. If you feel like if your weight starts going down, but you want to eat a little bit more, raise your calories. If your weight starts creeping up, time to tighten it up and restrict those calories a little bit more. Same thing, even if you're not necessarily trying to lose weight, now is the time to do regular strength training. I won't go through that again. So one thing I will say about the strength training is that if you're not doing it, you're losing a lot of health benefits. A lot of time people, especially women, think about strength training only as something that we do for our physique. And if you're just doing stuff for health, for exercise, people don't strength train because they think that they don't need it. Women and men both need strength training because after about age 30 or 35, if you're not actively doing resistance training and actively trying to be smaller or stronger, you're actively losing muscle as you get older. And so the key is going to be to do strength training now so that you can at least maintain, if not increase, a little bit as you get older. Strength training reduces the risk of osteoporosis, reduces the risk of fall as we get older, improves our glucose sensitivity, again, talking about weight maintenance and control, prevents injuries, and as we get older, being stronger allows us to get off the toilet without assistance, being able to get down and up off of the floor, being able to do things for ourselves, especially as we reach older age, that hopefully we won't need assistance to do. So again, if you're not doing regular strength training, contact me to help you get a program started so that you can strike while the iron is hot. A good illustration for this, again, people, I've talked about this in my own personal life. This is somebody, her weight is the same. One side, of course, her percent body fat is much higher than on the right-hand side. Her weight is identical. However, the right-hand side, she's doing regular strength training. She's incorporated a healthier, more well-rounded diet with adequate protein, adequate calories. And of course, she looks very different in those two pictures. So if you are restricting calories and you're not hitting protein and you're not strength training, you're going to end up just a smaller version of your current self, probably with less muscle, which is going to be a lot less effective in the long term. Personally, I know I've shared this on some of our blogs and some of the presentations I've done. 10 years ago or so, I was 40 pounds lighter than I am right now, maybe 35. And so when I incorporated strength training into my life, if I was just using the scale as a measure, I would be a complete failure, right? So I would be 30 pounds heavier on the scale, which would be a failure. However, because I track other things besides the scale, I know that while my percent body fat is slightly higher than it was then, I have put on about 15 or 20 pounds of muscle over the course of 10 years. And there is no amount of money you could pay me to go back. So if you're not doing regular strength training, again, I implore you to please let's get started sooner rather than later. It will change your life. It will change your body. It will make dieting easier. It will make maintenance easier. So please do not delay. The other thing I will say about tracking, is it a pain in the butt? Yes. But as someone who has talked about the benefits of tracking for years and has probably made all of you irritated with how much I talk about it, I track every single thing that I eat every single day for years and years and years. And is there a point where I might not track anymore? I can't say with certainty one way or the other, but I have no intention of stopping. It's kind of like, why would you stop checking your financial budget? Just like, oh, I don't need to check what my bills are and how much money is in my account and how much money I'm saving for retirement. I'll just wing it and see what happens when I hit 65. Like, you could, but that's probably a dangerous strategy. And I will also say that as someone who is overweight and talking to people who have said that they want to lose weight, not tracking has gotten us into a position where we're overweight. If you got to a position where you were overweight, it means that what you were doing was not working. So it may be that there are people out there who can just kind of eat with intuition, can only, eat until they're 80% full, just kind of can maintain their weight without too much effort and don't need to track. We are not these people. I argue, and I'm sure that other people would have different arguments. My personal belief is, if you have struggled with food and have struggled with weight, you are probably not in a position at this time to go to a system where you just kind of naturally eat without tracking. History has shown me that I am bad at this. History has probably shown some of you that you are also bad at this. If you're not tracking, you are literally guessing. So you might as well track and know kind of, at least an estimate, what and how much you're eating. The macros and the calories are going to be there regardless. You might as well know what it is, because otherwise you're just guessing. So that's my, again, plead to stay on track with your diet journals. So that's it. Those are my 2 takeaways. Log your food, strength train. If you do those 2 things literally and hit your protein, you can either continue to lose weight or maintain your weight, and you will ultimately be successful in the long term. If you just kind of go back to, not tracking and going back to the way things were, not eating your protein, not hitting the gym, chances are that you're going to be like those statistics where a year from now, you'll probably be signing up for Weight Loss Challenge again and probably have gained back all of the weight that you lost this year. So my plea for you is don't be those folks, and contact me. We can figure out whatever tools you need to help you be long-term successful. Hope everybody has a great week. Talk to you soon.